I'm Shivsy.
And I'm Nats, and together we are the Sisterhood Circle Podcast.
Our vision is to create connections with our community and inspire change in the world.
So be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to find out more.
So let's dive into today's episode.
Okay, so welcome to episode 4 of the Sisterhood Circle Podcast. Today we are going to dive into all things how exercise shapes us as women today. So we'll just get right into the nitty gritty of it. So for you, Shivs, what is your first experience of like exercise and its impacts on you?
I would say my mum, if I'm being honest with you. When I was little, I lived down in Folkestone, down in Kent. We moved down there when I think was potentially like 3 years old, and I was there until I was maybe 10. And my mum used to go to, I don't even know if it was a local sports centre. I feel like it was maybe a hall or something like that. And she used to take me along and sit at the side.
Okay.
And so I used to sit along at the side, and she would have all the gear on. It was like Jane Fonda. Like, she would have the leg warmers, she'd have the leotard, the wee belt, like her Reebok pumps, and the hair was mad. Oh, she was lamb. But honestly, like, my mum is an absolute babe, and she is. She's gorgeous. And so I was just like, oh my God, she's amazing. And I used to go to dancing and stuff like that when I was little.
Yeah.
But I would say like the first kind of real memory in myself when it came to exercise was when I moved back up to Scotland, and I was in my house in Skelmally, place in Cowan, Pennyburn, and my mum used to have these VCRs. No, I was going to say DVDs, but they were they're videotapes of Cher doing exercise, and I absolutely loved them. I get up every day, and I was 10 years old, and that's what I did. I'd get up and I would be following Cher, and just reach, and she was bloody amazing, right?
You're like old school aerobics.
You loved it, man. Totally loved it. And I would do these over and over and over again, and I friggin' loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it. So I would say that that's my first real memory of like seeing exercise done, and then probably taking part in my kind of early years. What about you?
I think for me, probably very similar. Like, it been much what like I kind of seen my mum do. I remember the time like the Zumba was the craze.
Yeah.
It's like everyone was mad for Zumba with those like baggy trousers with like the tassels and the mad like shoes. Like with the two big chunky bits in the bit out the middle.
I don't remember the Zumba shoes.
You need to Google the Zumba shoes after this, right? So I remember like my mum and my Aunt Eleanor always used to go to like this girl Jackie Zumba class, and I used to go sit at the side, and I remember at a point being like allowed to take part and getting to join in and being like, oh my God, that's really like fun. It was just movement, it was good music, and really enjoying that side of it. So I would say that's the first bit of like exercise that I probably remember. I probably remember quite early on like a diet memory of like what my mum did, and at that point it was like Weight Watchers was like the big craze at the time, and I remember always thinking like food was just points, and knowing that like, right, okay, this had that many points. And my mum used to take me with her when she would go to, it was like at the local church at like is it Mansfield Church?
Yeah.
And go with him. So that's where it would be on like a Wednesday night, and I think that my brother had football, so I always just had to go. And I remember I'd go, I'd sit at the wee table at the side, like colouring in and all that stuff, and they'd go and they'd sit and they'd like get weighed in, and my mum would be like, oh, I'm not staying for the meeting tonight, like I never get a loss, or I don't have time to stay for that, or I'll stay because I lost this week. And it never ever like negatively impacted me at the time, but upon reflection you go, oh my God, like that was wild what they were doing and what they put themselves through. And how they measured their success of that.
Yeah.
Grateful, like it never impacted me as a kid. Like I obviously just brushed it off at the time, but you go, wow, like there's probably some kids that seen that and then started on that cycle from there.
Yeah, and I would think, see, from like even like if you kind of cast your mind back to being like a coach in the time that you've been coaching women, hearing that actually like this started off at childhood for me. Like I don't have a great relationship with exercise because I was never told that exercise was a solution. It was always you've got to count your calories or you've got to be on this low fat diet, or like my mum was always on a diet, or genetically this is just how I am. And I think that there's a huge amount to be said to what you're exposed to as a younger girl or a kid. Yeah, definitely, for sure.
And I think when you look back, like that was like kind of generations of like the extremes.
Yeah.
Where there was lots of options out there,
Yeah.
but it was all quite extreme. It wasn't really ever, and I don't remember this like growing up watching this for like my mum being like a female in health and fitness trying to like come up and get results and stuff. It wasn't like going to the gym never seemed the solution.
Aye,
There was these odd wee classes, or there was these mad extreme things that you would do nutritionally to be able to get that. And I think like that must be really, really hard to have either grown up or been at a point in your life where you experienced all that. And I think it's something for you. You probably touched on a wee bit of really seeing and experience a bit of the extreme during that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would say, like, for me personally, I've done quite a lot of the extreme things. Yeah. For me, I would probably say I am naturally not a thin person. I'm muscular, I carry myself well, but it's very, very easy for my body to change like pretty quickly. And I would say that when I started kind of probably going through like puberty and stuff like that, like I've never been very well developed, but I definitely gained some body fat and stuff like that. And I would say like I wasn't in the shape that I would be in today. Let's just put it that way. And I felt quite bad about my body. And my cousin Ashley and I were really similar ages. She like honestly like she had the boobs and she had the waist and she was everything pure fancy done. She was golden badges as we guy. That's what I felt like, right? And like that's just the way I felt. And at this point in my life, my mum had moved to Glasgow. My mum and I had moved to Glasgow, so I was moving school, and I went to this school in Glasgow. Which, by the way, moving from a school in Cowan into a school in Glasgow was a wild eye-opener. Like, it really, like, I was actually terrified. Like,
kettle of fish.
Poofed. Wild. Like, they were drinking at, like, lunch breaks and I was like, oh my God, get me out of here. But I remember one of the days, and it sticks in my head so much. Like, I was sitting at a table, and I was just brand new to the school at the time, and I was sitting at the table. And there was two boys at either side of me, and the classroom was quite busy. And this boy was like that to me, started making pig noises at me. And he was like, you look like Miss Piggy. And I remember it being like the first time in my life being like, somebody's just called me fat here. Yeah. And it really, like, it's like I'm 38 now, and I must have been 14 if you're lucky, and I can still pinpoint that feeling. And it was heart-wrenching, and you kind of like make a laugh or whatever of it. But I remember going home, and it must have been a Friday, and my mum was out, and our partner at the time, we used to get Chinese food, and we would play like PlayStation and stuff like that, and it was great. And we had our Chinese, and I went to the toilet and I made myself sick after it. And that was the first point that I would say that I had developed probably a bit of disordered eating. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know this about me. In fact, very, very few people know this about me. And I would say that I struggled with that through my teen years. Probably got a curb on it when I met Stuart. Yeah. Yeah, like I felt a bit more settled, a bit more probably safe and secure and all of that kind of stuff. And then there was a point in my life where things got really, really tough with work, like my job managing Curves and Paisley, and it was just wild. I think we had one staff member and me, and it was just really, really hard at that point. And then this thing started coming up again, and I remember breaking down to Stuart about it, like admitting to him that this is what I'd been doing, and he's like, right, what can we do? How can we fix this? Yeah. And I think with any sort of disordered eating or eating disorder, there's a lot of shame attached to it. Yeah. Right? And I think that just being able to tell someone, actually, this is what I'm doing, and then be like, it's all right. Yes. It's like, oh, this is actually going to be okay. Like, and I think there's a huge amount to be said about keeping like secrets like that to yourself. Now, what I would say with that is, does it ever go away? No. It doesn't ever go away. There are times where I would be like that, or you could just go and do this. And then I go, no, That's not how we deal with things.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't ever go away, but you can manage it, right? And I think that being open and being honest about it can be really, really helpful. So I think that like that would probably be one of my like extreme experiences.
Yeah.
But also like when I was younger, like when I got into my like maybe came into my 20s and into my 30s, I was out a lot. I loved going to the Archies. I was in Ibiza 3 times a year. I was a party girl and I absolutely, like I loved it. It was brilliant. But my friends were small. They were petite and they were naturally quite like that.
Yeah.
And I always tried to strive to be like that. I think I did the tuna-only diet. I'm surprised I am not poisoned by mercury.
Yeah.
So I straight out the tin, not even anything with it, because I didn't like mayonnaise or anything like that. So yeah, just, right, this was the theory.
I can smell tuna even talking about that. It gives...
It's probably unheated in me. But the theory behind it was, if it swims, it slims. That was like a diet like culture. Yeah, so I did that for a bit. And then I think like at one point I had a coach or something like that and he told me to go on to 1,200 calories a day. My exercise expenditure in the job that we do, we're on our feet easily 8 to 10 hours of the day, probably taking 2 classes a day and then going to the gym.
Yeah.
It's a lot of energy being expended there. And what happened to me next?
It was mad, like... just the absolute stress on your body of eating so little, training so much, got to the point that like palpitations were starting to happen, like actual physical side effects from your body being so depleted. Like I remember you being in the office one day and it's mad to think that like on our lunch break we'd run up and down the stairs while you were on 1,200 calories. Like that's bonkers. But we were in the run and you were like like I don't feel well, and you were proper like panicking, like you felt like your chest was quite tight, like palpitation side of things, and like we can laugh about it now, right? But at the time it was quite scary.
It was absolutely.
And you're like, look at my heart rate, like I'm going to go to the hospital. And I remember being like, take that watch and take your Fitbit off, and you were like, no, but look, and I'm like, there's a reason it's getting higher because you're panicking. But like that drove you to a point of extreme where like you ended up having to go get like your
heart check. They had to do like an ECG and all that.
And it was just like an absolute byproduct of extremities starting to happen. And I think like for so many people that's what they believe like exercise needs to be, is this absolute extreme side of it, and it's not what it needs to be at all. I would say when it comes to like the nutrition side of things, I feel quite grateful. Like I'd never really, like I'm 27, so slightly younger in terms of like I've not experienced the madness of the diet culture quite as much. Like as I say, like I remember my mum on like Weight Watchers. I remember my dad doing like some mad bodybuilding diet, and like I remember him being like in insane shape at the time, but it was like chicken and a wee bit of rice, like that kind of stuff. Like that was it. Like this was before my fitness pal, and I used to like write it down and have to work it all out and all that, and it was like pinned up in the kitchen. But the first kind of experience I ever experienced on like the nutritional front was definitely calories, and it was at the time you thought the lower the better. Right, the less calories that you can consume, the better it's going to be, the leaner you're going to get. And I feel like up until that point I'd been really lucky that I'd never really seen the exercise as a weight loss tool. Like, don't get me wrong, like I was absolutely not a petite girl when I was in school. Like I definitely was carrying a little bit of extra weight, and yeah, there was comments, the pressures of how you looked, what you did, all that kind of stuff that came with it. I think I was so involved in sport from like the majority of my youth growing up that it was kind of just a bit of an outlet. Like you never really were in the crowds where those conversations were happening. Like the girls that were teeny tiny were playing the sports I was playing, they were off doing dancing or like cheerleading, and like I was not that kind of kid. When I was growing up I was like, let me go to karate, let me play hockey, like definitely the more tomboy. So I wasn't probably surrounded with like the pressure of the aesthetic side of it until maybe that kind of 16 to 18 point where I was playing hockey mode international at the time, surrounded by girls in really privileged positions, like private schools. They were teeny tiny girls, like they all had like personal trainers, like they'd like people that lived in the house and made them their meals. Like it was how absolutely half live. But that was probably my first experience of being like, I don't fit in here aesthetically.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm like the wee why? There's a reason to pat me and go like
You're both pals?
so I think like that's my first experience of probably feeling like aesthetically I never really fitted in. But that was at a time that I was studying and starting to come into the industry, and probably joined you in the extremity of like really low calorie, really high activity side of things. But the difference being at that point, like I wasn't teeny tiny, so I didn't quite have as many negative effects as what you did, because I had a lot more body fat that could have been lost. That when I was on 1,200 calories, my body had a wee bit of stores that could work with. As in for you, it was really different. Like you were relatively lean at the time, and on 1,200 calories, running up and down stairs, running a business, right? And seeing the negative impact that had on you was huge. Like it was exhausting, but it also then cultivated a little bit of that binge culture with it, because with any low, crazy restrictive means that you're going to absolutely binge in a comparison. And this is where like I do think like a lot of people suffer with a form of disordered eating in a way, shape or form when it comes to either whether it be binging, whether it be other extremes that maybe go to, because either what they've witnessed growing up or what they've tried to do that they then can. And that then, I don't think it's talked about a lot within the industry that, there's all these solutions as to how you can lose weight. But what do you actually do to like rehab your diet culture? How do you actually get that back to what normal is when you get to where you want to be?
Yeah, I think that you're right in what you're saying. I think it's a double-edged sword. And for a lot of people, when it comes to like fat loss, let's go for like a 6-week fat loss challenge, right? And what they do is they set themselves up from day 1 to day 6. And it usually is to see a result like that in 6 weeks. You're balls to the wall, we say this all the time. And your calories are probably a wee bit lower. Your activity levels are higher, and you're getting to the end of the 6 weeks and you're starting to fatigue. And then you go, I'm so glad that that's done. And then you put a start point and an end point on it when it's a challenge, I think. And then what can happen, and not for everybody, I'm generalising here. I'm not saying that this happens to everybody. What then can happen is you put a start point and an end point on things, and then it's that big, oh, well, I did it, I'm going to go out and get pissed, I'm going to eat what I want for a week, and then blah, blah, blah. And then before you know it, you've got a taste for the sugar again. You've got a taste for the alcohol again. Your energy levels are low, you're sleeping in, your mood's shot, and you're back to square one again. Because see, with all of those feelings that you've got attached to that, they're the ones that you feel like you're failing again. And then you're just back to square one.
By the time you get back to square one, you've seen another challenge posted on a social media, so you're back into that, and you're then doing this, I don't live for 6 weeks, and then I go out of control for the next 4 to 6 weeks with it. And you just go like, in some ways, like, is there a disservice being done in some areas of the industry of how do you reverse that? What is the reverse diet side of it?
Oh, I think like one of the big things for me is, and this is probably slightly off topic, is that's why I wrote Unwritten. Right. So for anybody that doesn't know, I wrote a programme. It was actually like a course that you could do. It wasn't a challenge, but you would come in and I would do teachings each week. And Unwritten, the Female Master Plan, it looked at everything. It broke down. We looked at sleep, we looked at hormones, we looked at your nutrition, we looked at a whole host of different things. And with that, the reason that I created that is I was like looking at people when I'm coaching them, and I'm like that. We've got to break these cycles. Education is absolute. It's so key. The education isn't enough. You can't just say people here have this information. You've got to really feel the benefits of it. And I think like that's why I wrote Unwritten, because I was like, we need to do something different. We need to level up. We need to be better.
We need to break the cycle. 100%. I think it's something that, like, in our working side of things, we do really well, as like we teach members what habits are going to get them where they want to be, but we're with them every single step of the way of when they reach that goal, and then what starts to happen with that. But I think it does go to show you that like that culture and that saying that went round, okay, it's dead simple, it's calories in versus calories.
Oh my God, no, it's no.
Don't get me wrong, like
There is what is it.
There's calories serve purpose for certain people, certain times in life, right? But if you're just going to chuck a bite as someone that's coaching someone, being like, oh, calories in versus out, that's all that matters. And it's like, there's so much more to it. And like this, don't want to steal away from the next podcast one, but there's so much when it comes to females, right? Whether it be psychological side of things, whether it be hormones, whether it just be what they've got going on in their own life. Can everyone weigh absolutely every bit of food that they consume and track it? You could argue if they get up early enough, they absolutely can. But is it what suits their needs? And what are their younger people then seeing them doing?
Yeah. I think this old saying, it's actually one of my granny's sayings, there's many ways to skin a cat.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that, see, you've got to do what suits the person.
Yes.
It's not one size fits all. So calories in, calories out, yes, in a degree. See, if you enjoy doing it, it fills your cup, it makes you feel in control, and you can imagine yourself being able to do it 12 months from now. Of course there's weight in it. Tell me one person that has tracked their calories every day for 12 months. Is it consistent? I don't know. Like, I mean, if you're listening to this and you're that guy, then fair enough, right? Do you know what I mean? But for me and my personal experience as a coach, what happens is we do it for 3 or 4 days and then we forget, and then we're back to square one again. And I would say that is it a long-term solution? Do people want to have to do that? Is it great as an educational tool? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And I would agree, learning what carbohydrates are and learning what proteins are and what fats are. I think it's vital to know what's in your food.
Yeah.
But then once you know the information from an internal point of view, if you're wise enough, you can then use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
And you can do things a wee bit more simply.
100%. I think like it's got its place totally.
100%.
Depending on person. Totally depends, of course. 22-year-old single girl that says herself tracking calories is absolutely no bother in comparison to a busy mama, 3 kids, that already just now feels like time she's feeling is hard enough. I think you've hit the nail on the head on it being an educational tool in terms of understanding. Yeah, people maybe can revisit that for a couple of weeks to really get the reins back in on understanding their energy consumption. But I don't think it's the solution for absolute everyone. And I think what it created for a period of time, and this is maybe where, like, when we were chatting about the extremes of the heart rate coming in and all that, like, watches, whether it be Fitbits, Apple Watches, Garmin's, whatever, are all great tools. But what started to happen that we've seen in the industry is they all give you an expected calorie burn for that day. So people then start to say, right, well, this is how many calories I have burned and this is how much I've consumed. So this is what I should lose.
Yeah.
Or, right, well, I've burned that many calories so I can then eat that many calories instead and I'll get away with hiding that 500 calories and nobody will ever know. And you just go, oh my God, how much does that take away from just because I was hungry?
Aye.
Like, instead of going, oh, I've got 300 calories left, let's raid the cupboard. Like, it's absolutely fine that I can have it. So I think it's one that, yeah, like it's been good, and I do think it's great for the industry. It's good for getting results at points, but I absolutely think it was like a loose cannon, just absolutely chucked out with zero afterthought to what I feel.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
I think that you're right in what you're saying. It's definitely got its place. Personally, I think that anybody that does anything when it comes to whether it be exercise or nutrition, see if you can imagine yourself doing it 12 months from now, find something else, right? And the reason for that being is lifestyles are forever. They're forever and ever and ever, right? They're not for 6 weeks, they're not for 12 weeks, they are for the rest of your life. Get in touch with your vessel, get in touch with what feels right. Yeah. What you had said there about your food, like, oh, I've got 300 calories left, I'm going to go and have X, Y and Z. Are you hungry? Am I hungry? If you're not hungry, don't eat.
Yeah, and the negatives that come from it. Like, I remember going out for dinner and being like scared about what to eat because I never knew the calories that were going to be in that food, and been like, oh, shit, like, what do I need to keep for this today? I could eat 1,200 calories for breakfast, I'm sure, if you really like asked me to, and no bother. The fact that that's what we ate and expected ourselves to perform.
You imagine trying to Ajax and 1,200 calories. I think I like 1,200 calories.
I get past the ski.
No, exactly.
But, right,
exactly.
And that is a really, really big thing of how can you expect your body to perform on an exercise capacity?
Yes.
Then you are running on empty.
Or any sort of capacity for that. I mean, do you think, because I personally do you think that it's made you a better coach being able to have kind of seen all sides of the coin and been through quite a lot when it comes to that.
100%. I think so much of it comes down to personal experience. I think as a coach, you can't expect someone to do something that you've maybe not tried or experienced yourself in a way. Like, because you've got to understand it. You've got to understand the how, the good things of it, the like positives, the negatives to it, to be able to really understand if that's suited for a person.
Yeah.
As you say, when we have a female sitting down in front of us, it's not just a right, okay, here you go, that's what we're going to do and that's the plan. It's a right, what do they need? What are they dealing with in their actual life and what are they looking to get out of it? Yeah, they might think that weight loss is the thing that they really want to get out of it, but when you strip it back and you look at, right, okay, their sleep cycle is non-existent. They wake up every single morning dreading the day. They get to 2 o'clock and they need to batter in a coffee because they're hitting an absolute slump and a half and they're inhaling anything that stands still. Is that person's solution? Let's get you onto MyFitnessPal and look at calories. Absolutely not. It's let's build a good relationship with your food and let's allow you to look at what exercise can do for you instead of what it can lose off you.
Yeah, definitely.
Is the biggest thing. So I think as a coach, it's a huge benefit being able to look at all the different areas for somebody.
Oh, definitely. I think that very nicely going on to the next kind of part of this is around like exercise and who you surround yourself by when you are exercising. I think like there's a lot to do with that. And don't get me wrong, I think that a lot of people do really well on an individual basis when they train. Like I don't mind training myself, but I absolutely love being in a group of people as well.
I absolutely do mind training myself.
I know you do.
I get lonely.
You do.
And I think it's you're spot on in what you're saying, like who you surround yourself with is so important, like both on a nutritional capacity as well. You want people that are going to support your decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm sure you've all got friends that you've went out and you've said like I'm not going to be drinking tonight because I'm doing this, and I'm like, oh God's sake, just have one, or
It's so boring.
like I'm just going to I'm not going to have a start, I'm not going to have a dessert, like I'm just going to have a main. They're like, oh it's a Friday night, like lighten up a bit. And you feel like you're kind of guided into what they want you to do because of how they feel. But I think the flip side is who you surround yourself with exercise-wise massively can impact how you train, the consistency that you train and your training intensity. Oh, yeah. And you're with someone else. I think for me personally, I never really experienced training so much in like the gym capacity. As I say, like it was always sport. My exercise was sport for most of my life. So it wasn't until I really got to that 17 stage that going into a gym to train was something that I did. And it's at that point like you and I like started training together. If you've listened to the other podcast, I'm sure you'll have heard the funny story about that. But that is where like my love for training came. But I always connected that love for training as that was something I'd done with you. So at times in our life where we've maybe not been able to train together, whether it's due to holidays or work when you were opening Paisley and stuff, there was that element of, oh, this is easy to say no.
Yeah.
Because I'm not training with the person I'm used to training with. So I think it can be a great thing having a workout partner because it pushes your consistency and your integrity. But it probably made me have to try and push a bit harder. I'd be like, you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Just go.
Aye. And that's
something for you, like, I massively admire. You've just always trained consistently for such a long period of your life.
Yeah. And I think for me, training hasn't always been about like a lot of it when I was younger was about how I looked. Yes. Yeah, it was. And it's not always been about how it made me feel. And I think that like I used to go huge long runs and 100s and cardio. It's like everybody that's 38, that's what you did, right? And that was fine. And you were fit, but probably not like I would run 10 miles so that I could have a Miller Lite. Right?
That's why so sad.
I know, how disgusting. But anyway, anyway.
How much do you love a Miller Corner?
No. Greek yogurt, frozen berries, let them defrost.
I mean, like I'm talking like when you were counting calories, like back in the day, I would bet a Miller Corner. I was quite sad by your answer for that.
Oh well, sorry, no, was the
yogurt is the way forward.
Greek yogurt, 5% by the way. You held it here first. Right, anyway, circling back, what were we talking about? I've lost
10-mile run for a Miller Lite.
Aye, but it was before that.
Sorry that I get excited with food.
Right, hang on, let me think about this.
Training for how you look.
How you looked, yes. Sorry, get sidetracked. That's what happened from food. Well done, yes. So, but now what I would say is that when I train, it's as much about my physical health as it is my mental health. And this week's probably a prime example. So last week, Nats and I both did 2 High Rocks events, where Nats was in Glasgow doing Pro Women, which was fab, and I was in Copenhagen with my husband Stuart doing our first doubles event. And this week, we'll talk about that a wee bit later on, but this week I have been working from home. I've done a couple of runs and a couple of gym sessions, but not as much activity as I would normally do. And I would say that I could feel myself being a wee bit lower than normal. And I think that when you look at it, a couple of things, lots of extra carbs over the weekend, firstly, because my body just doesn't feel as good on carbs as it does on other kind of fuel sources, which again, touching in with yourself. Yeah. But I think that not doing your normal exercise pattern, we think that it's always for the body, but oh my God, like I ran this morning and I was like that when I get in the house, I have arrived, like feeling great.
You're so right in what you're saying. I think, see, exercise for what it does, of course, for your physical health, for me personally, like what it does for my mental health is absolutely huge. Like I've not trained quite as much this week. There's been very little movement outside of like a working capacity for me, and you just have to try that wee bit harder to tap into your normal self-talk, to tap into seeing the positive, even when things are a wee bit harder. That then becomes a wee bit harder because you've not like self-medicated. You've self-medicated with training in the morning. You've not paused your brain for that 90-minute session that you would normally do, 60-minute session, whatever that might be. You've not had the opportunity to get out of that. And I think it's one of the biggest benefits of exercise, right, is what it does for your mindset and your mental health. Huge. And I just wish so much that people would give it the opportunity to get in for that. Because see, when you're locked in for what it does for you in comparison for what it's losing off you, the tables absolutely turn.
They absolutely do. And I think like that's one of the things, see, when we talk about like creating an exercise program that you're going to be able to do for the rest of your life, if you can't fit in, like, say for instance, you're saying, right, I've got to train 6 days a week, right? So me and Nats decided before this event that we were going to try a new High Rocks program. And it was for 8 weeks. 8 weeks. And it was frigging intense, let me tell you. And don't get me wrong, there was purpose attached to it. But there was 6 sessions a week, and when I say sessions, I mean 80 to 90 minutes sessions most days. For me, I was like, do you know what, I'm going to give it a go against my better judgment. I'm wiser than this. I know that I need more than one rest day, and I ended up injured, right? And during that time, I was like that, oh my God, I was in a bad way, man. My back was absolutely killing me. And then I went like that, Siobhan, why are you thinking to yourself, like you can do this, you can't push yourself to this level for that amount of time and no expect to have repercussions. And then in my head it was like, oh, am I failing here because I'm not able to do these 6 sessions? So realistically, see if you've got something that's put down to you, you think, I could probably do that for 6 weeks, but I couldn't do that exercise for the next 12 months.
Why are you doing it?
Why are you doing it? Because it's just going to make you, when you revert back to source, back to autopilot, you're not going to be able to keep up and you feel like you're failing again.
And I think that's the thing, when people feel like they're failing, it's like the self-destruct button gets and for the majority of people, this really happens more on a nutritional standpoint than what it maybe does on an exercise. I think that most people are good at ticking the minimum boxes when it comes to movement in a way, but it's like as soon as failure starts to come in, it's like this self-destruct button nutritionally, and it's like the absolute extreme level of overindulgence, and you just go, like, if you can manage your expectations around them what's realistic, might take you double the time to get what you're wanting at the end of it, but you're not going to have pressed destruct. You're not going to have pressed destruct at any point, and then put yourself back to square one, and then you start that cycle ever again. But I think there's a lot to be said for having more of a purpose to why you train than weight loss. Like, it might be why you start, right? And for a lot of people, it maybe is the thing that gets their foot in the door. But see, when you actually start to see what you get out of it,
Yeah.
Like that should be what keeps you.
Oh, definitely. And I think that, see, what we do in curves, the fact that for women, like, I don't know about you, but for a lot of people I see that are struggling with training, it's because their sessions have got to be an hour. They need to go at a certain time, they need to go to a class at a certain time. And what we do at Curves is like your 30-minute sessions. You can come in whenever you've got a spare half an hour. You're focusing on strength, cardio, flexibility. You're in a community, you're surrounded by coaches, and you can imagine being able to do it 3 or 4 times a week because it's so convenient. And I think that's why we're so passionate about
so much so.
Yeah.
And it's in an environment that's uplifting. It's in a community that's to have your back and support your decisions for your goals and what you're looking to do. And you just go, I think it's like, honestly, a hidden gem that so many more people genuinely need to know about.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Because see, when women come to us, they go, oh my God, I've been thinking about this for ages. I can't believe I feel so much better in half an hour.
Or I didn't know that this is what it was.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's such a big one. And you just go, do you know what? It's a solution for so many people to feel better within themselves. Yes, there's results that come off the back of it, and that's absolutely incredible, some of the results, right? But see, what it gives them day-to-day life and the quality of life it gives them back is absolutely unreal in 30 minutes.
Exactly. So,
like, see, when you look at that side of things, it is mad when you think about.
For sure. So, next up, we wanted to kind of talk about generationally the changes that we have probably seen in social media.
Yeah.
And what was once before and now acceptable, or what you would strive towards. So I would say in my time on this planet, it was super skinny. That was the goal. It was like you wanted the collarbones, thigh gaps, all that carry on, right? And then I would say that maybe over the past 10 years, strength training has been coined in the fitness industry. FYI, Curves have been doing this for 30 plus years. Strength training. But it has been like, it's exploded. And what I would say, looking at that, is you see a lot of super fit fitness models.
Yep.
I look at both sides of that and I say, is it realistic for your normal person to achieve any of those two goals? And then how does it affect you when you're exercising and you're eating well and you don't look like either of the two of them? What do you think?
I think this is a really big thing. I think like strong is now accepted, and that is incredible, because I think like it is so important, not for just how you look, but how your quality of life is, and as you age, right? Like, I think that is massive. But I do think there is a big concern surrounding all these models on Instagram that you see with the absolute perfectly toned physique, with like the shoulders, like the strong arms, like the strong like abs and all that. And you go, it's great that like that is now accepted, because that wouldn't have been a thing. But what it doesn't say is what has to be done to get that.
Yeah.
So people think that just by like starting to strength train, they're going to get that. And some people genetically have a little bit more of an advantage than others, right? But 9 times out of 10, when you see washboard abs, you see sculpted like shoulders, you see like a good set of biceps on a girl, like that person is having to train 6 days a week, right? They're having to really push their nutrition. They're probably tracking everything that they consume. Is that realistic for general population? I don't think that it is. But the flip side is like, it is nice that it's now accepted.
Yes,
and it gives like this goal for a lot of people. Like, I want to look strong. Yeah, it's nice, and I want to look skinny. Right? Like, I want to look strong. I mean, see if you see a girl, right, and like talk about high rocks, for example.
Oh my God.
Like, I stood in that tunnel of pro women and going, holy shit, man, her shoulders look brilliant. Check the biceps on her. Like, you can admire a good set of glutes on anybody, male or female. Right? It's a lot of work that it takes to get that. But I think as much as it's accepted, the journey of muscle building probably isn't educated enough for what you need to do to get it. Like, you could lose weight in your 6-week challenge, when skinny was accepted, but you can't quite build a set of glutes in 6 weeks. That's a journey. So I think it's to conclude, right, I went off on a tangent there. Shock horror. I think to conclude, it is great that it's accepted.
Yeah.
But I think there needs to be a bit more of expectation of managed out there for what it can get in that time.
Definitely, because it's hard. It's very, very challenging for women to be able to put on muscle. And it's just genetically how we are. It's not impossible, but it takes graft. And the recipe to lose body fat and the recipe to increase muscle are two totally different recipes.
Opposite.
Right, they are. And a lot of people think, right, okay, do you know what? If I do X, I'll get to this. And it's so important to have a coach that's going to be able to guide you in that direction and tell you, actually, well, this is what you're going to need to do here.
100%.
And it's hard. It's hard to do it on your own.
Massively. And if you think the recipe for weight loss is consume less, the recipe for building muscle is you actually need to consume more of the right stuff, and consuming more calories of the really good foods that are going to help you do that isn't actually as easy as people then think.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fear attached, and you've hit the nail on the head. If you've got a coach on your side to be able to help guide you through all of that, you've absolutely hit the jackpot.
Definitely.
For sure.
Amazing. So
it probably leads us into the flicking the switch of what we actually now use exercise for in comparison to what we once thought, and how realistically the High Rocks experience over the past, 2 years, 5 High Rockses later, has absolutely changed our why for exercise and our why when we look at our body and we look in the mirror. Yeah,
definitely. For me personally, what I would say around that is when we first started High Rocks, I think we totally underestimated it.
Totally underestimated. We could not have underestimated it anywhere.
So we started going up to Fit Body Farm in Coolmalls, and they were brilliant, really great set of coaches up there. They're fabulous.
Brilliant setup.
Aye, fantastic. So if you get a chance, definitely go up there. But yeah, great set of coaches, and we went and we were great in the classes. We absolutely loved it. I think we did 1 or 2 High Rocks classes a week, and then maybe 1 or 2 5Ks we run. And we hit the Birmingham NEC. NEC. And we're like, right, let's get ready to go. And the first race that we did, 8 o'clock at night, 8 p.m. Oh my God. And the boys had been on at 11 in the morning, maybe earlier.
11:30. So bear in mind, we'd watched like what we look up to as like strong boys who train hard, really struggle with this, right? So we mentally were a bit like...
Well, you were a wee bit crazier than me that day.
Shot. My chimp was not in his cage, let's just say.
So
there was an element of like, oh my God, like they found this hard, right?
Definitely.
To then go out and do it and be very humbled, I would say, by the overall experience.
So we were super happy because we'd set ourselves a goal of doing it in 1:30 for our first High Rock, and you did it in 1:25.
1:25,
Ellie did it in 1:28. 1:27 maybe, and I was 1:29, which
I would never forget, right, you crossing that line, we were standing there. It was obviously so late at night, like your emotions, it had been like a wee bit of a roller coaster. And I'd come over, then like Ellie came in buzzing for her because I knew she was excited, and we knew you were in like your wall balls, but we didn't know what number, and we were like pure cheering, go, she's going to get it, she's going to get it. And he crossed the line and under that goal, and honestly I just remember I felt like I was more proud of you than what I was like myself, and it's just getting a hug together. Like,
see, honestly, you were like that. Look at your time. And by that point, I'm like, I'm so knackered.
Oh my God.
And I just looked up, and it was as if something had like uplifted me, and I was just like, oh my God. And we've got the picture of the 3 of us. I've actually got it in my mobile as my screensaver. And honestly, like that feeling, I remember coming home and doing a live after we had come home saying, as females, every single female needs to feel what that kind of feeling is like, where you've pushed yourself and you did it.
Yeah.
And see if you could use exercise as that driving force to kind of have a fitness-based goal rather than it being a weight loss goal, or what my body can do, not what my body can lose.
I say all the time, like whenever you're in that tunnel at a High Rocks event, no matter whether you're doing a doubles, whether you're doing a singles or whatever, like you're in there with a sheer appreciation of what your body can do.
Yeah.
You're not going, how do I look? How does this fit me? Like the moment you start that race, it is just absolute gratitude for oh my God, my body can do this. Like, my body's just ticked off that other station. And you're not going like, right, what do I weigh in the scales? What size of clothes am I wearing right now? How do I look? Don't get me wrong, some pictures are absolutely horrific angles, right?
I feel like they actually get paid. There's this one of me, right, in my, what High Rocks is it? I think it must be our Glasgow one, right? So, and I'm pulling the sled. Pulling the sled, sweet Lord, blue shorts on, and the shorts have ridden up. And it's just a picture of this right here. And I was like, sweet Lord, what would possess somebody to take that picture?
Aye, it's wild.
It is. But anyway, like, but you don't give a crap.
And you look back on like those pictures and see, as much as there's that one like you, there's some that it looks as if your soul is like literally leaving your body. You're like, oh my God. But you look back and be like, oh my God, like I could do that. Yeah. You then spend the day watching people doing it and like, oh, they are amazing. Yeah. Like check them, and then you go, wait a minute, like you just done that. And what it does for your ability to train consistently is huge. Oh yeah. Because your why is no longer, right, okay, I want to reach that number on the scale, or I want to be that close size. Your why is, I want to get faster, I want to get stronger. Yeah. I want that race to feel better. And that's when you go, I'm not snoozing my alarm, I'm getting up to train. Yeah. That's when you go, I'm going to do that session. And I'm going to give it my absolute all. So your consistency changes for what you can do as a result of that, which I think is huge. And it is about having the bigger why than actually just how your body looks. Exactly. You ever, like, say a thing, like, see when you look at a picture, you never look back and you go, that's what I weighed. Oh, you look back and you remember the memory. Aye. You remember like how you felt at that point, whether it be like that picture of us huddled, right? Was that a perfect angle, perfect lighting? Absolutely not. But see that memory, like it actually makes me quite like warm in that fuzzy way, because it was so special. And yeah, I think if so many people could have a stronger like why for that training, and whether it be an event, something that they aim for, just makes a massive difference. Oh, it does. I think that you're right in what you're saying. I think that taking a circle back to general population here, like not everybody would feel able to go out and do something like High Rocks. So our advice would probably lie is that like start where you are, but set yourself that goalie where it's going to go out for the walk if you're at that level, and just speed up your walk. Measure your time or your distance for that walk and see if you can get a wee bit faster next week. Like it's as simple as going like that to yourself, right, where could I be next week? Instead of wandering in the dark. Like I think about this all of the time. I think if you've not got a why, it's like walking about in the dark and trying to find your way. So if you can set yourself small incremental targets, it doesn't need to be as much as going to do a High Rocks. But if you're struggling to go to the gym twice a week, commit to for the next 4 weeks going to the gym twice a week. And it is. And then seeing how that makes you feel and checking in with yourself. Like, actually, do I feel better after that? Or do I feel worse? Do I want to feel more of that in my life? You know? I think it's appreciating that, like, success doesn't need to be these big crazy things. Like, just if you're managing to increase like your steps by 1,000 steps over the course of a week, that's a huge achievement, right? And that needs to be celebrated as much as crossing the finish line at a High Rocks, because everyone's on their own journey. Yes. And if you can focus on like being on that own journey and tunnel vision what your aim point is huge. The moment you start to open that tunnel and worry about what everyone else is doing, is the moment that then starts to be like, oh, I'm failing, what I'm doing's not good enough. Yeah. And how many times as a coach have you heard, oh, but everybody's doing great, and you think to yourself, nobody's posting their failures, right? There's times where, do you know what, I've not hit my 2 litres of water a day, but I'm not battering it on somewhere like, oh, I didn't hit my 2 litres of water a day. Well, you're posting all of your successes, and I think there's a huge amount to be said on the pressures that are put on people for social media when it comes to like adhering to exercise, or you only post the things that you're doing well. And I think it's important that people like talk a wee bit more openly about when things don't go well, or they don't go to plan. Like our Birmingham High Rocks, right, for example, like I didn't have a good race. This was the second Birmingham, sorry. So we done Pro Women for the first time, and I didn't have the race that I wanted, and I was disappointed in myself. I knew I had better. And one of the first things like people were saying to me is, don't be so hard on yourself. Yeah. I'm just like, it is all right to say that wasn't what I wanted. Aye. and it makes me hungry for better, it doesn't make you hard on yourself. It means that you've got expectations. The flip side of the coin, though, for you was you went out and you absolutely smashed that.
Aye.
You got an incredible time. I was so bloody proud of you. Like when I crossed that, literally tears glad
Oh,
I was
Bobby
done.
darling.
And like I heard your time, but then the flip side of people were like that, like, oh, like just like it's good, but don't like pure shout about it.
Aye, so that's like Stuart had said that to me, and he was like, just make sure you don't make too much of a bigger deal about it. And it wasn't about him trying to make me smaller. It was just that he was being very mindful that me and Nats had trained the same. As like we trained the exact same for that race, and it was just my day on the days. Some days you just get the days that are your day, and knowing that. But I think that, like what you said, you were just like, no, like just because I didn't get what I wanted should never take away
100%.
from what you were able to do. And I think women, we've got to
come together with that.
And I think that you can see sometimes if somebody isn't feeling great about themselves or hasn't got a result, they then backlash that onto you. And I think that that's totally unfair. So I think it's a thing that as women, we maybe need to level up a little bit on, see if we don't feel good about ourselves, don't put that on somebody else. Like, celebrate these wins that other women are doing, or ask them how they did it.
Winning doesn't mean someone else's wins should not be celebrated.
Exactly.
And I think that's really, really important.
So, we've got to lift each other up as women, and we need to do it in the fitness industry. And I think when the chips are down, that's really, really important. But also, see when things are going really well, see when you see something in somebody, like honestly, like I will what am I like? I'm tuned. I'm tuned in. Like I notice things. We both do. But if you see something good in somebody, like, celebrate it with them.
So important.
I walked by a girl the other day. Do you know what? If you might be listening to this, I don't even know who you are. But she was honestly, she was at the bank machine at Semichem, and she looked so cool, alternatively cool, like not normal cool. She had like this long cardigan on it, had like this peace sign in the back. She just looked cool, wee funky hairdo. And I was like, by the way, you look amazing. And she was just like, thanks. And see, that is what we need to be doing as women.
100%.
Like, lift each other up.
Like, no matter what you see, just say it. It takes you 2 seconds, but that could be such a pivotal point for that person in a day, in a journey or whatever. And do you know what? People are quick enough to say negative things. We need to flip that around, and you've got to surround yourself with the people that are celebrating your wins and helping you level up.
For sure.
So,
one tiny wee bit of advice that I would give you as well on that note: if somebody says something nice to you, this old thing, I've just washed it, it was £2 for Primark, how about thank you? When you receive a compliment, it is like getting a gift from someone. They've thought about it in their head and they've thought, how's this going to sound? And if you say, no, I'm battering that away, you're taking away the gift that they gave you. So the easiest thing when somebody gives you a compliment to say is, thank you. Try it out and see how everything changes around that.
Love that.
Yes. So,
kind of concludes us to the end.
Yeah.
Of podcast 4 already, which is mad.
Yeah, fantastic. Right, thanks guys.
Bye guys.